You may not have heard about Israel's biblical heartland or even Judea and Samaria, but have you heard of the West Bank? How about the occupied territories? Yeah, I thought so. The media is obsessed with the piece of real estate I'm standing on right now, but the crazy thing is that nobody knows a single thing about this place. Countless American presidents have tried to cut a deal over this land, and there's supposed to be constant wars and fighting going on here. The reality on the ground, however, is much, much different.
Today's mission is to get a real good up-close look at the real estate that the world is completely obsessed with. We're going to drive to a spot that's going to absolutely, completely blow your mind. After that, we're going to go to a factory that absolutely shattered the stereotypes of the population dynamic here in the West Bank. This is going to be crazy.
Why I'm in Israel. I came to serve. We believe it's a fundamental part of non-Jews.
Good views. Oh, this is incredible.
You know the story when the Jewish nation first crosses over the Jordan and they meet these two. It's actually in the Parsha this week, right? Where they meet these Ammonites and Moabites, right? And they refuse to give them bread and water. And then God says, well, if you don't serve the Jewish people, then, well, you're damned. You're no longer welcome to my house for 10 generations and forever.
So a lot of what we want to do in this series is introduce you to what Judea and Samaria, which is the area that the world wants to make into a Palestinian state, actually looks like. And the biggest part of that is showing you what the borders of that would be. So we're currently sitting at the Peduel lookout. It's also known as Israel's lookout because it's one of the most beautiful overlooks in all of Israel. So behind the camera, what you're going to see is Israel's coastline, which is where at least 70% of Israel's population lives. We're talking Tel Aviv. We're talking to the south, Ashdod, Ashkelon. You're talking Netanya, a little further to the north, Haifa. So we're overlooking all of this right now. Where I'm sitting right now, we are 17 miles to the Mediterranean Sea. On the other side of Tel Aviv is right out here. We're talking 17 miles. But I'm not on the border of what they call the Green Line. It's another 3.2 miles to the Green Line. So if we go all the way to where the borders of this Palestinian state would actually be, Israel's width right here would be 14 miles. Now, it gets even worse because just to my southwest, I'm looking at the Ben Gurion Airport in Tel Aviv. How far is it to there? 8.77 miles from here. How hard do you think it would be for Hamas, for Fatah, for Hezbollah to shoot rockets into the Ben Gurion Airport, much less at airplanes that are flying directly overhead where I'm sitting right now? So again, we're just trying to give you a picture to show you what a potentially horrendous Palestinian enemy state would look like and what those borders would look like. 70% of Israel's population right here below me, and Israel's border would be 14 miles wide, and we're talking 5-6 miles to the airport.
So what are we? What are we here for? What are we doing as a family? What are we called to? And, I was teaching him, well, we're called to serve the Jewish people. And I asked my children, I said, so what do you think would happen if we decided that we shouldn't serve the Jewish people? If we were to fight against them like the Ammonites and Moabites did, do you think Hashem would have us, what do you think he would have? Will we be welcome to his house or not? I said, well, of course not. We would never be able to come to Harbai to worship Hashem, like the house of prayer for all nations, if we didn't serve the Jewish people.
Right now, we're inside what they call the West Bank, which would, in the goal of the world to set up a Palestinian state, this would be on the Palestinian side of the state. The border runs right in front of us, just a few miles out from us here. And then on the other side would be the state of Israel. So from this perspective, the view that we have from here, if we go ahead and just copy paste Gaza here, because that would be what would be if there was a Palestinian state established here, then what do we have? Well, for sure, we have rockets. We have all kind of setups here for launching into Israel. This would be one of the prime locations that a hostile terrorist organization, any one of the 20-plus terrorist organizations operating here in Judea and Samaria, they would come to this point to launch attacks against Israel. This is a problem if the bad guys sit here.
And so fundamentally, as non-Jews, and I'll also straighten this out as well, forget the idea. There's only two groups of people in the world. There's Jews and non-Jews. You could break it down into religions, but that's not even biblical, I don't believe. Jews and non-Jews is the whole story of the Bible. And so I look at the Jewish nations as the leader of the redemption process, and non-Jews are the ones that support the Jewish role.
We're going to throw a drone up, and we're going to take a look at how close. This is just a simple drone. Anybody could buy this drone on Amazon. Just a simple look that any terror organization, if they were given this spot, what they would see.
Well, I guess the thing is, if you imagine you have Palestinians with these, and we've seen what they've done in Gaza with improvised explosions attached to drones and attached to kites and stuff, and you just have hundreds of people potentially access these types of things and just fly them straight over the border into these cities, dropping these explosions or homemade bombs, whatever they may be.
I believe that this is the homeland of the Jewish people. I am here to serve the nation of Israel, and because I'm also a very strong Zionist. And I wholeheartedly believe that this is not the homeland for non-Jews. This is the homeland for the Jewish people. Currently in the war that Israel is fighting, kind of like, I don't know, biblical characters. You see a lot of biblical characters, David's mighty men, a lot of them being non-Jews that came to serve the Jewish people, to help David win that war. That's why I see myself.
This camera, where we buy this, just simple. It's just like a regular grade camera, whatever. And we're going to see how good we can zoom in. We're viewing the Ben Gurion Airport now. So that's airport tarmac right here.
You're right there.
There's an airplane coming in. He's super low coming down right there. You see him?
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
I got it.
You got him? Yep. He's blowing right down on the tarmac right there. You see him? There he is. I could literally see him landing on the tarmac right now. This is what the world is pushing Israel to do, to establish a Palestinian state. And this is why we brought you here today. We're bringing you here to show you, hey, we can't have a Palestinian terrorist state operating on this high ground. Impossible.
I don't want to bring non-Jewish ideas or our thoughts into a Jewish world. I want to support the Jewish ones, the Jewish thoughts, the Jewish ideas, the Jewish values.
Israel must have this land to protect its citizens inside the Tel Aviv and all this whole coastline of the Mediterranean, where its vast population lives. Now, from here, we're going to take another level. We're going to go and understand another reason why Israel must declare sovereignty over Judea and Samaria. Are you guys ready?
Yeah.
Let's roll.
I think our mission at the Israel Guys here is to inspire the world to stand with Israel. This is verbatim, actually our mission on the paper, is to inspire the world to stand with Israel and to serve the farmers of Judea and Samaria. So
today we're heading out to the vineyards of Samaria to harvest grapes with people who have come from all over the world. But there's something pretty crazy about what we're doing today. Thousands of years ago, the prophet Isaiah wrote that foreigners would come and be the plowmen and vine dressers for the Jewish people. We've got people here from all over the world, America, Canada, Australia, and they're getting their hands dirty harvesting prophetic grapes from these mountains. So today, we're going to see why these volunteers came to take part in a literal ancient prophecy. Let's roll.
how we see living that out is through our advocacy. We do, multiple videos a week where we're promoting.
Here we are. Good morning. It's another great day. We've got harvest today. And here we go. But I was reading this verse in Isaiah 61:5. It says that foreigners will be your plowmen and your vine dressers. We're going to check it out today, see what's happening, see if that's really going on. Good morning, folks. Here we go.
The whole thing right now is just nonsense. Jewish people step foot into their ancestral promised homeland in Kusra, where an Arab invading, army has come in to take the Jewish land, and the whole world uproars when Jews step foot into their land. So, of course, there's a bunch of nuances to the story, and there's all kind of backdrop to it. But the fact is that there's so much misinformation provided in the world. Why in the world is CNN and every news network there is, the BBC, everybody, New York Times, are all jumping on a little story about a Jewish person who walked into an Arab neighbor's yard. What in the world?
Harvest is here. I'm going to be vlogging today. Boys got something to say over here. What's going on, gentlemen? I was yelling Justin. Justin! As you all know, I was out yelling Justin. How's the coffee this morning?
Delicious.
Sufficient? How many times have you been here in Israel?
This will be my 10th trip
10th trip! Yes. Whoa, 10 times. All right. Yeah. All of those for harvest?
for harvest, yes.
Harvest. Oh, wow. All right, folks, I got my coffee.
So what we want to do is we want to come in and say, hey, guys, wait. You're missing the whole backdrop of the story. There's nobody else that is sitting boots on the ground from, especially an American perspective anyway, that can help from an outside perspective to tell the world what's actually happening here. So that's how we want to inspire the world with the truth of what's actually happening. So we do that, of course, through our media. And, as I said multiple times a week, we're trying to promote the actual stories, promote the positives of what's actually happening here, which is just untold. It's just not spoken of.
As you can see in this room, a lot of pictures.
Oh, wow.
A lot of...
Yeah. All the vacations together.
All the vacation. And I think Lipsky, my first goal is to make money, as I said it before. But the second goal is to bring happiness to the people who are working with me. And look at that. This is the most normal area in all the Middle East. Listen to me. People feel here better than they feel in their home.
Yeah. Some of the Palestinians want what we have in Israel. Democracy, human rights.
If you were to reverse the story right now, that's like the major headlines, and you would say an Arab came and threatened a Jew. Well, that happens every day, and the media is absolutely silent on it. So these are the kind of comparisons. Like, we're just trying to straighten this narrative, this evil, anti-Israel propaganda promoted by billions of dollars of international money against the Jewish people, against the Jews, and their biblical right to this land. So if you can demonize all of that, which is the intent of lots of international powers.
All right, let's roll.
Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day.
One front. And then, of course, our boots on the ground, serious operations here that we've done now for 23 years is to build farms. So we've helped to build about 120 farms. Of course, the Jewish people, they come, they initiate, they build, and we come alongside and say, how can we help? So that a lot of times looks like started out harvesting, planting, and pruning vineyards.
I've got a wonderful feeling. Everything's going my way.
All right, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
How are you? Name and where you from?
Samuel Fisher. I'm from Pennsylvania.
All right, so this is your second day out harvesting?
Yes.
What was the experience like?
It's awesome. I mean, we cruise up and down the aisles, just moving along.
Isaiah 61:5 says the foreigner will come and be your plowman and your vine dresser. That's pretty wild, isn't it?
It is.
To be Pennsylvania
to
Israel, that's pretty foreign to these grounds. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's great. It's a great experience.
Awesome. Thanks for being here. All right, we'll pass out the clippers. We got these 6 rows basically to do.
We helped a ton with the vineyard movement establishing here in Judea and Samaria. Today, a lot of cattle farms that are being built, which is the new initiatives that are happening on the ground in Judea and Samaria.
Where are you from?
I'm from Michigan. Yeah.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Grand Rapids area. So.
All right, fantastic.
Yeah.
And this is your second time here?
My second time.
How did coming to Israel change your life?
It put things into a literal state. It wasn't fuzzy anymore. It became everything became concrete. I've seen exactly what Israel's purpose is and how it applies to us, and it became not a spiritual thing and not this church replaced Israel type thing, and it became real.
Tessa, what do you got? What? This is your first cluster ever?
Yes.
Whoa!
I've never been here for harvest. Let's go.
Cluster. Laura, why did I say Laura? Melody's first cluster ever. The truth is, the entire time I was switching names with everybody. Melody's first cluster. Wow, how does it feel?
Fika. Like grapes.
Feels like grapes. Feels just great.
It's a grape feeling.
Great feeling. There you go. That's great. That's very good.
At least right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're right.
Holding down the vast majority of land held in Judea and Samaria is held by about 150 farmers, specifically cattle and sheep farmers.
Good morning.
Good morning.
What's your name and where are you from?
I'm Teresa Dutter, originally from Ventura, California, and now I live in Georgetown, Texas.
And what brought you to Israel?
God.
Yeah, that's a good story, right? What is it like? You're picking grapes.
It's very fun. So many fun people, and the environment is great. I'm learning a lot just about Israel. To know that I'm helping God's people in God's land is something I can't even put into words.
Isaiah 61:5 says that the foreigner will be your plowman and your vine dresser. Here we are.
That's me.
So we talk about Zionism, a connection to the Jewish people and the Jewish rights to the land is held in the hands, majority, of about 150 farmers here in Judea and Samaria. 600,000 people, but really, who's holding down the land? A handful of farmers.
All right, good morning. What's your name and where are you from?
Me?
Yes, sir,
John
you.
Phillips. I'm from Ontario, Canada. And to
makes
come
a
be
difference.
part of prophecy, it's pretty humbling, man. It's pretty humbling.
Oh, man. To think about it, that Isaiah, when he had that prophecy of foreigners being your plowman and your vine dresser,
That's right.
was he seeing you?
He could have seen us out here right now.
Totally. That's pretty crazy.
That's pretty amazing.
We are Iona.
Hello.
Where are you from?
Australia.
Australia. All right, we got Americans, Canadians, Australians now. They say foreigners are going to be here, be your plowman and your vine dressers. Wow, how you feel?
Amazing. It's great to be here. It really
Wow,
is.
what's your experience so far?
It's this place is different than anywhere else. This is a special land.
And we're here to support those guys and say more power to you. How can we see you expand? How can we see you really succeed? And the godly mission of bringing back Jewish presence in Judea, of all places. I mean, this is how more you talk about biblical values and biblically correct. Is that not the dream of all the prophets that foretold that this would happen? Now it's happening. And we're here to support that.
Is what's happening right now in Israel anti-Semitism or anti-Zionism?
Well, you see it happening on the streets in Michigan now, specifically. I just was watching, and this whole thing, and these Arabs that are leading, these massive riots, whatever I call them riots, but protests and rallies in the streets, whatever. They're yelling and chanting. They're like, "We love the Jews, we love Judaism, but we hate," and they're like, "We can't stand for Zionism and Israel." Like, well, what in the world are they trying to say? What's actually behind that? And when I hear that, this is what I hear. I hear, we like weak Jews. We can't stand strong Jews. Meaning, if Jews live up to their biblical destiny, which is to fulfill the words that were spoken that you should fulfill, the biblical promises that you've been quoting from the prophets of Israel from ancient times, we're living in a generation where that's all happening. Well, the devil can't stand that. Or I'm saying the devil, I'm talking about these Islamists, and for that matter, many Christians as well. But the evil of the world can't stand it when Jews fulfill their biblical purpose, and that's what we're seeing in this generation. We're alive in an amazing generation, I believe, where we're seeing Jewish people step up to the plate. In some ways, I think I believe in the Jewish people more than many Jewish people believe in themselves, and I just fully believe in that. Yeah.
So what frustrates you about Israeli society?
Well, I believe in the Jewish people. I believe in I believe in even the specifically the Jewish role and the reason why I'm so filled with passion and faith that the Jewish people are doing the right thing. You're leading the world in the best way possible. Everywhere else is growing dark. I don't know if you looked outside the Jewish world. Maybe the Jewish world inside maybe seems traumatic and hard. Been through a lot of hard things over the last couple of years here, especially. And even before that, I mean, what traumas the Jewish nation has gone through for centuries and all the hardships that they've gone. But I see something in the Jewish people. Well, one, it's nowhere in the Bible is there any mention of non-Jews somehow. The whole idea in Christianity that they somehow replace the Jews, or Islam for that matter as well, all the religions, somehow this replacement idea has crept in, that somehow they've replaced the Jewish people and they're now in charge of leading the redemption process. Well, I don't see that anywhere. That's not, that doesn't make sense to me. God would change his mind, that somehow. So that's my fundamental belief in the Jewish people and the nation of Israel to lead this redemption prospect. But what I actually see happening in Israel is encouraging as well. I see 7-8 million Jewish people living in the land of Israel today. I say that's answering the largest call of the generations ever to come back to the land, to establish the homeland, and to root themselves in it. And also see, I mean, you talked about your friend Joshua Wonder, also a friend of mine. I see the amazing things happening on the Temple Mount. I see the Jewish people coming and saying, no, we will. establish the house of prayer for all nations. That will be this generation where we will do this. And I say, boy, when I see the nation of Israel rising, and also I would point out the nations, the people that hate Jews, hate Israel. Maybe they call it anti-Semitism. I call it Jew hatred. When they go for that, what do you see these Tucker Carlson figures doing? They attack you right at what you actually should be doing. They flip everything else. They're building a third temple. I'm like, fantastic. What's wrong with that? They're attacking the thing and trying to demonize the thing that actually are the things that you should be doing. It's the most highest level of the Jewish fulfillment of Jewish life and bring godliness into the world. And so I find it fascinating that the haters of Israel are actually elevating somehow in the minds of Jewish people around the world that the third temple is something that should be happening right now, that the Jewish people should be elevating and bringing this light to the world. So I find it fascinating that that's actually people like Tucker Carlson are the ones that are bringing that up in our modern day.
So how does the SSPX, factor into this? Meaning, like, there is factions within, just like within Judaism, there's factions of some people who are pro-Zionist, some people are parv. They're on the fence. Some people, there's all different flavors of this. I mean, in practicality, most Jews have returned, but it's still in the theology of it. It's the most difficult thing to accept because it requires people to make a change. And start, in 67, when Mutta Gur got up on the Temple Mount and said, it's in our hand, the first thing they did was create the Western Wall Heritage Foundation and hand over the Temple Mount to the Waqf, our enemies, which was like, there was just a fear. They were afraid of redemption. I think people today just want status quo. We're happy to go to synagogue. We're happy to do the commandments, but don't ask us to build a temple. I mean, that, we don't want that. So,
well, and I mean, that's what this war actually brought about. I think there's a new generation of Israelis that's growing up that actually saw this war, went to the Arabs' house and saw that what fueled this war, October 7th and beyond, was fueled by Temple Mount, Al-Aqsa Islamic fury, this whole Al-Aqsa flood that they call the war. And I think that just seeing that when the Jewish fighters, the warriors went into Gaza and then Lebanon, and they see the Dome of the Rock, they're like, what in the world? What's the fascination? What's the all consuming, thing with these guys about that place? I think it's fueled a kind of an awakening within the young Jewish people. And I'm sure you agree that there is something happening in Israel that is fascinating to witness. It's kind of a rebirth a bit of Zionism, but also love of Hashem, love for God, and for a third temple. I think is a fascinating thing that I think is kind of it's like there's a bit of a surge here in Israel of kind of wonder. Like, I don't believe we're at that point anymore where the nation of Israel is now like, maybe politicians are still status quo, but I don't think the people are anymore. There's a role. And I think just as strongly as I believe in the role of the Jewish people and the nation of Israel to lead the redemption process and to be strong in your Jewishness, Jewish identity is so important. Look at what all the attacks against the Jewish people have been at the core, trying to take away your Jewishness. Nothing hurts me more when I see a Jewish person. Like I was just in Switzerland last week, and I was out in the mountains, met a shepherd boy, 90 something, not that old. His parents had survived the Holocaust. His mother, a Jewish mother, married a Christian Protestant. Now this man in his 60s, 70s, totally lost his Jewishness. Was to me, that hurts me to see a man who Jewish to be standing in the mountains of Switzerland and to have been disconnected from his Jewish faith and Jewish roots is hurtful to me. It hurts me. It pains me to see that, and to see so many Jewish people that are falling away from their core identity as being a Jewish person. There's nothing more that I want to protect than Jewish identity. And on the same way, I believe just as strongly in the Jewish role. I believe there's a role for the nations, and I believe that the nations need to accept that role. Just like the Ammonites and Moabites, if they had accepted their role as servants to the nation of Israel and the Jewish people and just walked out with bread and water and said, hey, what can we do to help? How can we serve? How can we serve? Well, maybe I don't even know. I'm not a rabbi, but what if the biggest miracle of the whole desert experience, maybe, I don't know if it's the biggest one, but God providing food every day and night and food and water. Maybe, I know for sure that the rabbis teach not to count on miracles. Maybe that was the role of the nations, to provide that basic sustenance to the people of Israel. And if they'd had done that and served the Jewish people all the way to the land of Israel, would have happened.
And tell us about the people coming to pick the vines. Who are these people? Like, is this like from one campus, or is this like a group of people? And why are they coming to Israel? Because like we're very suspicious.
You are. Well, you're right. You rightfully so. There's not, and here's the crazy thing is I would always be suspicious and never lose that, because that should always be Jewish people. Your history tells you, and you're rightfully so, and correct to be suspicious of anyone who would come, especially of other religions. What's the motivation? Why would you come? And that's what we do that with every volunteer. We run through an extensive process to say, what is it? Why is it exact? What is your purpose for coming? Well, if your purpose is to come to, take away Jewish identity, or your purpose in coming should be to serve and serve only. And then when you're here, we want you to become an advocate of the Jewish people, and then go back to your homes and share that good report about what you saw and heard, and then help promote a positive view of the Jewish people in your countries. We've had over 35 countries come. And here's the thing. A lot of people think that, people work in boxes. It's just a people thing. One thing that my parents, Tommy and Sherry Waller, who founded the organization, they hate boxes. Never did they ever fit into a box, ever. And so, me and my 10 siblings also took that from our parents. We just never fit into a box. I mean, we say, if you love Israel, we don't care if you're Protestant, if you're Catholic, if you're Mennonite or Amish, or a lot of people have a lot of problems with this, but if you're what do they call the guys? Just slipped me. Mormon. It doesn't matter. Like, you cross the spectrum. Of course, within the Christian world is where our reach is. I think in a Jewish perspective, it extends far beyond that. But that's our world, and we say anyone within that world, we can come to Israel with us, and we can show you an Israel that makes sense to you from your background, from your perspective, and you're going to leave understanding better the role of the Jewish people. And we hope that you'll embrace that and take that on. And we've had all those denominations come, and we've presented Israel to them in a way that absolutely rocks their world. It changes them to see the Jewish people. And this is, I think, fundamental. Christians have not talked to Jewish people. They've talked at and about them for 2,000 years. There's not been an actual understanding of the Jewish role. And when I came, I tell you, we were arrogant and didn't know a thing about Israel and Jewish people and the Jewish role, but there was Jewish people who had a little bit of mercy on us, I guess you could say. And once we got to talk and understand, it blew us away. It was like unreal to have that relationship with the Jewish people and be like, oh my gracious, wow, we've been really wrong. We've misunderstood completely what the role of the nation, and like so much is happening. It's undeniable what the Jewish people, the role and the return, and all these things that are happening. It's like, you got to be, so many people are completely, I don't know if they're deaf, blind. I don't know. They're totally missing it. People that believe in the Bible.
I used to love Tucker Carlson. I used to love his shows. And what happened to him? Like, maybe you could. What is really the fabric of this?
It goes back to, even the birth of a new kind of concept within Christianity of loving Israel is really only, I don't know, at the most 100 years old. I don't know, 30 years old. It really kicked off. We're talking about something brand new.
Dispensationalist? Was that?
I don't even know. I'm not like I'm not a preacher.
You're not your finger.
No, but I do know that the love of Israel is not something that's been promoted within Christianity. I mean, that was hundreds and even thousands of years when there was a hatred and an absolute disgust for the Jews within Christianity, and pogroms and attacks and all these horrible things, inquisitions and all these things. I very well understand that, and the fact that there's was awakening of some sort of pro-Israel thing is really mind-boggling. And so, what these Tucker people are doing is they're just going back to a rotten root of evil, things that actually they go back to this point where, Christ killers and, all of the horrors of the last 1,000-something plus years of Christian persecution against Jews is what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned we're going backwards, where there's kind of a lifting. Nations go through these cycles and changes, and religions even go through these things, and there's changes. A lot of people look at Islam as like the most radical, religion of hate and all these things today. Well, Christianity was definitely that back, a little while ago. But look, we've come through some changes, and for the most part, we're not that today. But there is a concern that we would go back. And I see that with Tucker and these kind of guys. They're this uprising. You see it across America where people are falling prey to this evil. And it's a sinister evil, full of hate, full of lies. And it's very concerning because look at the lead people in this, Tucker and many others. And there's a huge swing in America going back to Catholicism and many seemingly old-fashioned things. And that's very concerning to me. I can't say more of what the root would be other than just people being misled and fighting against the Jews. I mean, that's the root of it all, which to me is very evil and very sinister.
Now, you've spent 2 decades, I believe, working in Judea, or is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
And you mentioned that you've helped establish over 100 farms over there. Tell us about the nature of what this means for land acquisition or for land control. How have you changed the map, and what still needs to be done in Judea? Because a lot of people are not aware that there are, as you said, hundreds of new locations which are now identified as Jewish because of your work, which is something which, first of all, thank you. I want to. It must be lonely doing what you're doing because, you've left one world and you've come into another world where you're a stranger, and you're doing this. So, thank you.
Yeah. Well, there's one thing that I think the Jewish people know better than anything, and it's against. And what I'm about to tell you may be shocking, and I wish I could tell the world from a rooftop. One of the most deepest values of a Jewish person is to take care of the stranger. There's nothing taught more. I mean, you know this as a Jew. There's nothing taught more. And when you don't come to kill and to steal and destroy and hurt and harm Jews, news to the world, Jewish people are the most caring, the most compassionate, and the most accepting people there are on the planet. It's rooted, it's so deep in you from a biblical place, from a Torah place. And we've been recipients of that love for the Jewish nation. When you come to serve and be a blessing in a biblical way, and your beliefs align with the Jewish values, and you're not coming to steal or harm or hurt or whatever, then there's going to be acceptance. You're actually commanded not to accept all these other these foreigners and all the crazy things that they would bring and harm and hurt, all this. You have to fight and you have to stand up for yourself. But when there's someone aligns with biblical values and truth, there's a command to accept those foreigners. And so you mentioned that foreigner, it just made me think. The number one thing that's going across the globe is the Jews hate everybody, and specifically all these Christians. Unfortunately, most of the Christians in Israel are not so pro-Israel, and therefore there's a war, and that it's not a pretty relationship. But if there's those that are biblically aligned, biblically correct, that understand the role of the Jewish people, then there's such an acceptance and amazing. So that's an off thing. I just want to correct that to the Jewish people. It's an amazing thing, and we've seen that, and it's been incredibly blessed by the Jewish people, the nation of Israel. We've helped to build many 120 something farms here. As it relates to boots on the ground, what that means, I'll tell you. When Trump started writing, the last big scare we had was by the Trump administration when they did their deal of the century, and they wrote out those maps, and we were all like, "Whoa, what's happening? How is it that they're dividing God's land?" Joel says, "It's not possible. Don't do this," right? And when they did it, And they were going down to the nitty gritty. Here we go. Here's the maps. We started pulling up those maps. So you know that those maps, the farms we created, that we helped to create, of course, the Jewish people, that's where the borders were drawn. And when I saw that, I said, we've got to keep this going. The New York Times came out and said we were effectively obstructing the creation of a Palestinian state. And I'm proud to say that we're still winning. That was 10 years ago. There will not be a Palestinian state. And a lot of it's, it's not only due to the work we've done, but all the 600,000 Jews that moved themselves here to say, no, this is the biblical heartland. This is where the promises were given to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It's their descendants forever. This is the place where those promises were given. This is the covenant places of not only Jerusalem, but in Hebron and in Shechem and, all of these, Bethel, all these incredibly, biblical places. They lie here. And this is the heart of the Jewish nation. When you talk about holding down that land, that precious sacred soil, like I opened up with, these farmers are the ones that are doing the work of holding it down. One farm typically holds down around 4,000 something acres. You're talking about a massive land claim. So because of these farms, there will not be a Palestinian state. It's impossible. Locally, just with the expansion over the last 2 years since the war began, there's a fear, not in the Israeli hearts. There's a fear in the enemy. There's a fear in the Arab jihadists. There's a fear in the 27 terror organizations that are operating here in Judea and Samaria that are sponsored straight out of Iran. There's a fear in their hearts that this thing is shifting and turning against them. And they're exactly right. Jewish people are coming back to their land, and the enemies, the terrorist organizations, all the small groups of proxies from Iran and all these, they're being pushed out little by little, and Israel's expanding, and that's a great word of encouragement for all those that have ears to hear good news and not just hate on the Jews constantly. That's the most amazing thing happening in our generation, I believe.
He's crazy. I don't think Tucker is crazy. I think he's obsessed. Something is wrong. I mean, like, what's the fabric of all this that's going on? Like, why would they be like, yes, and you get guys, like I mentioned, Nick Matau, he's fighting these people, and you had guys like Charlie Kirk fighting these people, but like, was that really the battle, or that can't be won with logic if the person doesn't like you? You can't just explain to him the verses. It doesn't work.
No. I think it's beyond, I believe. In our generation, I think we're seeing something new. Before, maybe you could have said it was, and obviously this plays into it. There's like these spiritual waves of things that cover nations. And how could Hitler be so evil? What is the evil? What is this influence that makes people so crazy? It's just so sinisterly evil, like to the depths of evil. And I think it's a whole new level of it that this generation is witnessing with social media, with all of the new technologies of our world today. I think back, it took so long for these waves of information to change and slow changes beyond. Today, it seems like it happens like that. And what concerns me is when I see it. I just did a piece on Fox today that should be airing, any minute here. And it spoke about this exact thing. Think about the billions of dollars that have been put into fueling. Americans think, and this would be true for everyone across the world, that their thoughts are actually from them. They think that Israel is genocidal. They think they made the conscious decision that Israel is genocidal. They think that they are the ones that decided that. They decided that settlers are violent. They think they have the facts and they're making the right decision, right? Like you said, they're not like know that they bought a lie. They really do think and believe these things. But when they're yelling to the river, to the sea, or free Palestine, they really do believe in the cause of the Palestinians and that there should be freedom. They actually do. But how did they get that thought? How did that happen? I wholeheartedly believe that it's millions and billions of dollars of propaganda and fueling from places like Qatar, China, and Russia, and of course many other players in the spectrum. But you got to know all this money that's been poured into college campuses and social media and the rewiring of the American mind is no more than a big, massive project in order to delegitimize not only American, Jewish value, but American values, American principles that were brought from the Bible. And if you can unroot that, then you beat down America, you kill America, and in the end, not that anything this is about America, but at least there was some biblical principles that America was founded on that are being eroded now. Then you can also attack Israel with that same model. And I believe it's a sinister attack that's very well coordinated with billions of dollars behind it. And you can see what's happening with that. The American minds are being stolen. And you see how that's affecting Israel.
That is chilling. I've heard of lots of conspiracy theories, but that actually makes sense because that would explain everything. That's one that solves for why. It solves everything, meaning that if today people are only source of information is from media, and the media is, this is
explain to me. It's not really a conspiracy in my mind, even though it may sound like it. Explain to me how something so evil as Hamas would get 50 times the views of a pro-Israel view on social media the day after the October 7th. How does that happen?
Well, I think that the model of YouTube, and I'll just tell you this straight out.
Yeah.
This is what I think. The model of YouTube is that it promotes sensationalism. It promotes, not that it's, even though they clearly have programs trying to not do this, but just the algorithm works this way. Right. If you say, it's going to be a nice day, nobody's going to watch that video. If you say all hell is about to break loose and the Jews are to blame, then everybody's watching that video. So we've failed as humanity to be able to be attracted to good, meaning
that is true.
We have not. I think the Jews have failed to teach God's ways to the world because of persecution and exile. And I think that we're at a time in history right now where we could begin to do a positive outreach program. I think this channel is. I'd like to believe that it is, that we're going to be promoting messages of Judaism to the world that they could at least hear from knowledgeable people of what our vision is for the end time. And our vision from the end time is that strangers will stand in our vineyards and plant them. And these are fulfillments of prophecy. And what it does say, another thing, it says in Isaiah 52, that says, Ayin ba'ayin yiru. Every eye will see the redemption. Now, 100 years ago or 1,000 years ago, that would have been impossible.
Right.
But today with YouTube, with social media, in one instant, everybody could see what's going on. Your videos can reach millions of people seeing the redemption unfold. And that is literally the fulfillment of that prophecy. So it's without a doubt that technology wasn't just a haphazard discovery. It was hidden by God. And today it has been revealed for I think, messianic purpose. And
maybe all of this could be reversed. Maybe the evils of the world that have weighed in. And if this is correct, you look at what's happening on college campuses outside of social media. That's obviously been bought. I just believe that same thing has been promoted over to social media. It's unfathomable to understand how corrupt this world has become. But to your point, maybe it can be brought back to being a place of spreading the good news of Israel and the message of the Jewish people. Miracles can happen. There's one other verse that I thought was fascinating. You talk about prophecies coming about. One of our biggest championing verses from Ezekiel is, it says that the nation and kingdom that doesn't serve you will perish. And I thought, boy, we got some troubled nations out there. They literally don't get it. They just don't get it. They will perish based on whether they served Israel or not. There's just the whole book, as a non-Jew reading the Bible and looking at it as an outsider in, there's very few points where it actually brings up non-Jews. And when it does bring us up, you got to really pay attention. So when it says the nation and kingdom that doesn't serve the Jewish nation will perish, okay, that was written for me. I was like, okay, that was written for me to understand how the nations are supposed to interact with the Jewish people. And so, fascinating, Ammonites and Moabites, like very few glimpses. How did the nations interact with the Jewish people? As a Jewish person, you're reading this thing this story's about you. As a non-Jew, I'm looking into the story and looking at how the nations interacted with the Jewish people, what they did right, what they did wrong, mostly wrong. but there we have it. And I just feel with Rabbi Melamed here at Har Bracha, the amazing teachings that he's given us and the ability to learn and to grow and understand the Jewish people better, that we are growing in a day and we're going to see a day when the nations would be a blessing to the Jewish people and not a curse. That's my prayer and my hope, is that the nations would understand their role and that the Jewish people would also fulfill and operate in their role at a higher levels than we ever have in human history. And that's my hope and prayer.
Josh Waller, thank you so much for joining us. Okay, thank you so much. If you guys look in the description, you'll see a link to his channel. You can check it out. He has some great, energetic videos. Lots of fun, good laughs, good edits. I love watching it. It really wakes you up to what's happening. The Geula is unfolding. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.